For solving inequalities, it's really important to remember that if you multiply or divide by a negative number when you're solving, that you want to flip the arrow. So flip the flecha. So you want to remember that. All right, so if we're looking at this, there's a couple different ways to solve. I think for most of you, you're probably going to want to distribute. So we'll go ahead and solve this way first. We have negative 2x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 10. We're going to add 6 to both sides. So we get negative 2x is greater than or equal to 16. And notice when we divide, we have a positive 16, we have a negative 2, but we're trying to isolate the x. So when we divide, we're particularly paying attention to the number with x, and the number with x is negative 2. So since we're dividing by negative 2, this is when we would flip the flecha. So we have x is less than or equal to negative 8. What we're going to do here is go ahead and start by distributing. So we're left with 4x minus 28 plus 20 is less than 8. When we combine like terms, we get 4x minus 8 is less than 8. Add 8 to both sides. So 4x is less than 16. Now notice here when we divide, we're dividing by a positive 4. Okay? Because that's a positive 4, then we can go ahead and keep the sign the same. So it is x less than 4. Okay, now if we have an or inequality, you need to make sure that you are actually writing or in your final solution, because if you have two separate inequalities, there's a huge difference between the solution if you are comparing between an or an and inequality. So without the or, you cannot have a correct answer. So let's take a look. We're going to combine like terms first. So we're ending up with negative 2x plus 7 less than or equal to 3. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides, and we get negative 2x less than or equal to negative 4. Divide by negative 2. Okay, now once you divide by that negative 2, that means we need to flip the flecha. So instead of less than or equal to, we're going to have greater than or equal to. And then we get x is, I'm going to write it over here, x is greater than or equal to positive 2. Okay, so then over here, if we distribute, we get 1/4 x plus 5 is less than negative 10. We are going to subtract 5 from both sides. So then we get 1/4 x is less than negative 15. Okay, now over here, what I can do is multiply by the reciprocal, 4 over 1, 4 over 1. So x is less than negative, what would that be, negative 60. Okay, so I have my two inequalities. So the final answer, again, you don't want to forget that or there. So the final answer is x is greater than or equal to 2, or x is less than negative 60. So make sure to write the or. Don't just write the two inequalities. Now, if you have an and inequality with 3 parts, what's going to happen is you want to simplify the inside. All right, so we have 3 parts, 1, 2, 3. You're going to simplify whatever's in the inside, and while you're solving for x, you're going to perform the same operations to all 3 parts of the inequality. So let's take a look. On the inside, nothing to simplify. So if I'm going to solve for x, the first thing I want to do here is I want to add 18, but I'm going to do it 3 times. So be careful for that, because this is not an equation where we have a left side, right side. We have a left side, middle, right side. So in order for this inequality to stay the same, we need to make sure that we're addressing all 3 parts of it. So we have 18 is less than or equal to negative 2/3 x, which is less than 2. Now, if I am trying to remove this negative 2/3, I can multiply by the reciprocal, which is negative 3/2. Okay, now what happens then over here, I get 18 divided by 2 is 9. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. On the inside, this cancels out, and I'm left with x. And on the right-hand side, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and so I'm just left, oops, sorry, this should be a 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10, times negative 3 is negative 30, okay? But you have to be careful here. What we did is we multiplied all 3 parts by a negative number. So at this point, we actually need to flip the flecha. Okay, now you can certainly leave it like this. I would give you credit. However, generally, we keep the signs in lesson format. And what that would look like is if we had switched to negative 30 over here, and x is greater than that, so this would be less than x, and then this sign flipped, less than or equal to negative 27. This would be technically your standard form. I'm okay with this. On the test, I would gather it'd probably be written like this instead. Okay, and then for the next part, we're going to go ahead and simplify the inside. So I'm going to start by distributing this 5. So I get 5x minus 15 minus x is less than or equal to 5. Okay, 5x minus x is going to be 4x minus 15 on the inside then. Okay, so the inside is simplified for. Now we're trying to solve for x. Once we get to this point, we need to make sure to do the same operations to all 3 parts, left, middle, and right-hand side. So we're going to add 15 to all 3 parts. So we end up with 12 less than 4x less than or equal to 20. And now to isolate this 4, we're going to divide by positive 4. And so then we're left with 3 less than x less than or equal to 5. So that would be the final answer there.